You're watching the Metaphysical Mentor podcast with Michael Philpott. And we are recording. Dawn and Caron, how are you, my friends?
How are you? Nice to see you again.
Yes, I am really pumped for this show. I'm glad that both of you are together. You know, I've had you both on the show as individuals, and we had great conversations. But now I have you as the superpowers, and we're going to be talking about going supernatural today, guys. This is going to be a fun show. It's one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite guys, because I got the Bible here. You just got to see that. That's the Bible. And if you don't know what the supernatural is, it's about Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work. And Dawn and Caron just went down to one of his seminars. And we're going to be talking all about that. And I'm so pumped about it because I wanted to go and check that out myself. But that being said, I always had to ask this question. How did you guys come up with the name Superpowers?
You know what? It was actually Caron came up with spiritual superpowers.
Yeah, I don't even know how. I mean, we were just playing with the words, and we wanted spiritual, but we didn't, you know, spiritual can mean different things to different people. So when you attach superpowers, it kind of makes it a little lighter, but also kind of makes you think of maybe the mysticism or, you know, just different things that people can do.
Yeah, and I think it ties into our goals when it comes to what we kind of touch on, because we look at health, you know, whether it's more medical or metaphysical. We look at different types of, you know, supernatural or esoteric topics. So I think it all makes us, you know, supernatural, or it gives us superpowers. And so I thought the name just sounded really well, and it kind of,
I like it. And I love your videos too. It's, you know, your show is very similar to mine. It's really well done, well thought out too as well. And it's always really nice. But I always thought, you know, it'd be like this, the Wonder Twins. Instead of the superpowers, I was thinking like the Wonder Twins. You guys remember that cartoon from back in the days?
Yes, yeah. I actually forgot about that. Oh my goodness.
I was thinking that. I said, you guys should, you know, should do an extra show called the Wonder Twins. Yes. And have that. But yeah.
We actually have Bitmojis that have the, you know, the stance too. So
with the capes.
Yeah. So we definitely could do the Wonder Twins.
You know, Wonder Twins activated to have the two rings going on. That's your new tagline. I could just see that now. And you guys finish your show and just have that, or you can do an animation of that, whatever you guys feel like doing. But
excellent.
Yeah. So I'm really invested in his work, Joe Dispenza. So for people who don't know who he is, you got to check him out. But after this show, I'm sure if you don't know who he is, you're going to be checking out his stuff. So how did you two find out about, how did you guys get connected with Dr. Joe's work? Like, how did you find his books, or how did you get to know who this guy was?
With me, it was about, about 5 years ago or more. I just heard a video, or I listened to a video, or saw videos on YouTube. And what drew me to his work was the fact that he had this accident doing a triathlon where he broke his back, or vertebrae in his back, and he healed himself just by mental thought. And I thought that was an amazing story. And I because my husband's a, you know, high level triathlon coach, I was trying to get my husband, oh, you got to listen to this guy. You got to listen to this guy. And because I thought he would be drawn in by the triathlon side of the story. And he was like, well, you know, is he an Olympic athlete that healed himself? And I said, no, he's a, you know, normal guy. And so my husband never listened to it, but I continued to. So I don't know. So that's my story. And then just little bits and pieces over the years. And recently, you know, with my health challenges, I really felt drawn to his work and knew that I needed to get deeply involved in it.
Yeah. What about you, Dawn?
I think it must have been when What the Bleep movie came out. I think
Yeah.
that must be where, because I can't actually remember,
Mhm.
but I remember reading Evolve Your Brain so long ago and loved the story. And I must have like handed out that book 24 times at least over the last, say, 15 years to my patients who have had similar, cases where I really think if they could just, listen to a story, maybe implement his practice, it would help them.
Yeah, mine was definitely What to Bleep. I do remember that movie very, very well. And I remember like years ago. I think it's I think it was
15 years old now.
Yeah,
Or
it's
17 years old now or something like that. Yeah.
oh, it's been a while. I just remember this. I just remember him sitting in this chair by the fireplace. And I don't know if you guys remember this commercial with it's a Lincoln commercial with Matthew McConaughey. He's driving, he's doing this thing with his fingers. And there's Joe sitting there kind of like doing, it's like, hey man, I create my day. And I'm thinking, what is this guy smoking, man? Like he was so chilled, but it's kind of had this chilled intensity to him. And it was just like, yeah, man, I just wake up and I create my day. And I'm thinking, man, what's he smoking? And I want some of that. You know?
You did that very well. That's exactly how he is. Until you get into his meditations, and then it's like, who are you now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I mean, what was the one thing that, if you could think of one thing that really attracted what was really attracted to about his work that really kind of like say, okay, this is the kind of stuff especially with you, Dawn, you were giving out this book to your patients. What was the one thing that kind of said, yeah, this makes sense?
I think, well, there were so many factors. His neuroplasticity, I think everyone finds that fascinating with that type of research, how to reprogram your brain. But I think for me, it was helping my patients to really take an active role in their healing. And by doing more of a calming, mind-focused type of training, to really hone in on our body's ability to heal itself. That's really what I was trying to get across to my patients by sharing that book.
Yeah. What about you, Caron?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've again dabbled in his work for years, but I really just took it to another level so recently. And looking back now, it was like October, I ordered his books. I'd never read any of them. I ordered his books, or at least 3 of them anyway. And I read them. And then I went, oh, I should start doing his meditations. Went to his website, downloaded them, or some of them anyway. And then I saw about the week-long retreats, and something just really clicked in me. And the only thing I can attribute that to is some sort of divine intervention that told me that I needed to go. Because why now, after all these years, other than it was something inside of me, with my health condition right now, that told me you need to do this. This is going to give you what you need to heal.
Yeah, I always love, it's like, I love when spirit driven stuff, and it just, your spirit knows, source knows when you need the right thing at the right time. I always firmly believe that. Would you be willing to talk about your health journey a bit there, Caron, for those who are listening?
Yeah, I don't usually like to, but I think it's really important.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah, for the viewers and that sort of thing. And the only reason I don't like to talk about it is because in the past, I felt that kind of dwelling on it kind of maybe kept that health condition fed in a sort of, way. And now I understand that that's sort of true, but there's more to it than that. So in 2019, I was diagnosed with colon cancer and had surgery and radiation and tried some chemotherapy, which didn't go so well. In fact, there were a couple of times that I actually thought that I, wouldn't make it through the chemotherapy. And then, at one point too, it also, I was disabled after chemotherapy. I couldn't walk or talk. And I thought that might be permanent. And went through a lot with that. And, but got through that whole thing, which I know a lot of people have experienced. And I thought cancer was in the rearview mirror until December of 2020. And, I was going for regular scans, and then they detected some irregularities in my lungs. And it turned out that the cancer had metastasized to my lungs. And when I went to see the oncologist to, kind of discuss what to do, they kind of said, well, there's nothing we can do. We can slow it down with a lot more chemotherapy. And I said, oh, the chemotherapy that almost killed me, you're going to suggest more of that. And they said, well, we'll change it up a bit. And
Yeah, we'll just make it less toxic.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. I'll be in touch. So I was kind of left with this, situation where I was, looking at, well, I was given a kind of terminal diagnosis at that point in time. So the good thing though was that I almost felt a little bit of freedom when I kind of said no to chemotherapy. I did it initially because I wanted to look back and know that I had done everything, and that there wasn't anything that I didn't try. And but I knew that, trying it again, wasn't going to work. And it's not a judgment on chemotherapy. I think it does work for some people. It just, wasn't going to work for me. And now I understand some issues with my physiology, as to why it wasn't working for me and why it won't work for me in the future. But anyway, so then I started looking for other ways to, allow myself to heal. And I mean, I think interestingly enough, I thought that, I was trying all these things, and it kind of was sort of the impetus to start the Spiritual Superpowers. Dawn has her own healing journey going on, and we were both trying to do so many things, mind, body, and spirit things to try to heal ourselves. We thought, why not bring this to other people, all these things that we're trying, and, discuss the pros and cons and that sort of thing. And all that time, while all that was going on and we're doing the Spiritual Superpowers, in the background, I'm trying to find a way to save my own life.
Yeah.
So, there was a very serious undercurrent to it all.
You wouldn't have known it. You wouldn't have known it. Like I had to say, like, just from your energy and us like that, you would have known it. It's almost like, it's almost like you said, like, F you, cancer. I'm just going to, whatever happens, I'm strong as shit, and this ain't going to happen. You ain't taking me down. And I just remembered our conversation we had, and I knew you were a little off a little bit there. And I've heard a little, I didn't know all your story, but I heard just like a little bit about your story. And I'm just thinking, man, you're going through all this shit right now, and you're still willing to help other people and trying to put the message out. I thought, man, good on you on that.
Well, I think when you're helping others heal, you're healing yourself, right? So.
Ooh, I like that. Can I use that quote?
Yeah, by all means.
I like that quote. So that was a fantastic story. Like, how did you just manage the fear? Because that's what I always hear when people have.
Well, this is an interesting way to look at it. So I got into mediumship several years ago before my cancer diagnosis. And I think that contact with the other side really helped me realize that, even if this cancer journey didn't go well for me, that's not all there is. I've had a lot of glimpses of the other side, and it's a pretty cool place. And I'm not afraid of dying, and I'm not afraid of what's out there, because of those glimpses, but I'm just not in a rush to get there yet. Right? So no, the whole spiritual awakening for me, my experience with mediumship, both with people and animals, it took that fear away. And I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah. Would you be willing to share, Dawn, anything about you or about your healing journey and why?
I can't remember. I don't think we talked about it on the last.
No,
chat.
we really didn't go that far. And
Yeah.
and then we were focusing more on just like the content of it. But I mean, this show is really about, how you guys, your own journeys, and really get to see a little bit behind the scenes. I know you guys talked about it on your show too, as well. So I'm just making sure that my listeners understand what's happening with you guys and how amazing your journey has been, so that it would inspire them as well. So if whatever you want to share.
Well,
You know.
I'm an open book. I'm happy to share. You can ask me anything. Just know that you might regret it.
Hey, listen, this is my podcast. So, I'm not like Joe Rogan. I don't have to worry about getting censored already. So,
Right.
so that I'm under the radar. Nobody even knows who the hell I am. So.
Oh, that's funny. Well, my journey has been lifelong. I've had illness since I was a kid. I've got 4 autoimmune diseases.
Only 4? What's going on?
4, I know, which have lovely, I'm so lucky. They've actually led into other wonderful diseases too.
Yeah.
So I just have, I guess, one of those body types that collect illnesses, and I don't really respond to conventional medicine. I mean, I do both. I have to. But from a very young age, I always was way more interested in health and wellness over the way that the treatments and the medications and the surgeries made me feel. So I started out with more natural health, like a naturopath and that type of thing. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And with my interest in, the metaphysical, for years, I've been dabbling with all kinds of very interesting energy work. And I find some have helped, most have helped. I learned that, there's a lot of layers, we're onions. And so, you might have a breakthrough in one area, and then that might reveal the next.
I just had that conversation. Those freaking onions.
I know.
It's like, any more layers I got to peel off? I just peeled off one. Like, what the hell?
No, and yeah. So it's just led me on this journey, and then Caron and I got to talking, and we started to kind of compare notes, I guess. And some things worked really well for us, some things didn't. There was some insight or research that I had done that didn't necessarily apply to me, but might have worked, might work for Caron. And then she did the same thing where, she's always researching as well. And come to me and say, hey, like I read this about this, maybe that explains what's going on with you, and maybe we should try this one, this treatment or that reading, or yeah, it's just kind of, we're constantly trying. And I definitely do, I have ups and downs, like there are good times and bad. And I definitely, the worst was in 2019. I pretty much broke. But it led me to make so many life changes, big life changes. I left my marriage, I closed my practice, I moved, my goodness, I can't even remember everything. I just like mic drop, I'm out, and yeah, that was a big quantum leap for me, towards my healing. But now there's still a lot to navigate. And but I'm trying to have fun with it. I look at it as experiments, like experiments, or games. Let's see what happens when I do this, or that's the ladder, or that's the snake. I slide back down. That one didn't work, so let's try this one instead. And I'm having fun with it.
Yeah. And I think what you have to realize about the two of us is we're health fanatics. Like, I look back at it. I mean, vegetarian for 30 years, like drink reverse osmosis water, have used like all natural cleaning products like forever because of the pets, and, exercise and yoga. And, so the fact that we
Which,
You know,
leads us to also believe in soul journeys.
Yeah.
We really do believe that it's a part of what we came here to experience for whatever reason. And I do believe part of that reason, if not the largest part, is to be able to use it to share our stories and help people.
Yeah. And that's what you guys do. And that's what I love about your show is I love the experimentation because I'm very much an experimenter too. It's like experiment, let's just try this. And I found a lot of things that did work for me too, as well. Certain things didn't work for me. You know, I'm a big fan of, health. I'm a healthy guy myself, and it's like the same thing. It's like, why am I always sick? People go, oh, you're sick. And I'm going, I got so much shit going on. You don't even know what was going on, brother, but I really appreciate you guys sharing your stories with that. And I know you guys share your stories on your show, the Superpowers, Spiritual Superpowers on YouTube, right? It's on YouTube.
It
Is it also an audio podcast too, or just strictly on YouTube?
We're on YouTube, yeah.
Just
that's
on
it.
YouTube, but I'll have all that information. But anyways, it's going to be, we're just going to keep talking about Dr. Joe. So, all right. Was the illnesses part of the reason you wanted to go to experiment and try Dr. Joe's work? Was it just like something that clicked and said, you know what do I got to lose?
well, yeah. And I mean, I kind of felt I'm running out of time here. I'm starting to feel the effects of these lung nodules. And every time I got a scan, there were more and more and more. And I mean, I think I was doing a good job of slowing it down through diet and some supplements and some other things, but it was still, every scan was just, I mean, I felt like the walls were starting to close in a little bit. So I feel like I really needed to, take a leap into something else entirely. And right when I was kind of thinking that way, and I don't even remember it. That's why I think it's divine intervention. I think Dr. Joe somehow came back into my life, and I'm like, oh yes, this makes so much sense. And it's time.
Yeah.
Time to do this.
So let's talk about his work. So let's talk about the actually seminar. So let's maybe start like day one. Okay. So what happens? It's a 5-day event, right? Is it 5 or 6 days?
7.
Oh, 7. Oh, okay. I thought it was only 5, but all
So
right.
the week long event.
It's literally
is-
a week long.
is 7 days. It's a week long event.
All right. So, okay. All right. So
Where you're meditating for, I thought maybe, 4 hours a day. It was minimum of 6 hours a day.
you were meditating for 6 hours a day?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now I can understand why the whole, now is it like, okay, so was it right after like day one, you're meditating 6 hours, or was there build up?
Day one was just a review of the theory of the work. So before you go to the week long, you have to do what they call a progressive workshop, which is all online. It's about, I don't know, I can't remember, probably about 30 hours of.
Yeah, it's like seven weeks or something like that. That's what it's supposed to be, like, 7 weeks.
So you have to do that first. So the first day is just review, and then you get right into it.
Oh, there's no messing around, eh?
There's no messing around. Like, you have to come, and they say you have to come prepared. But the neat thing is, just so I don't forget to mention this, when you arrive, you could sign up for a study. And so they would take samples from you.
What kind of samples, Karen? What kind of samples did you get to give?
Strays and poop samples. And
Oh, really? They did actually fecal samples?
Yes. Basically, they wanted to evaluate your microbiome.
Okay.
They also had you wear a Garmin if you signed up for the study, so they could, and you would upload the information every day to this app where they could look at your information there. And then at the end of the 7 days, you submitted all these samples again, so they could see the changes over 7 days. And so they emphasized that this 7-day week-long retreat was like meditating every day for 6 months.
Wow.
So it's kind of the same equivalent.
Equivalent. Yeah. Because that's one thing I think a lot of people love his work is that he's very scientific based.
Yeah.
So he's got the data. So when people say, oh, this is just horseshit, it's bullshit, he's got the scientific data to say, listen, you eggheads, look at this shit. Look at these charts. Look at these waves. Look what's happened to the body. Look at this blood work. You can't
And
deny it.
It's not even him. It's UCSD, University of California, San Diego, a whole team of professors there that are doing all the analysis of the data. So, you know, it's independent of him. So it's not just him trying to tell people this. It's a whole independent team of researchers. Yeah.
Now, also too, is I heard that you can also get like a brain monitor, like they hook you up like an ECG or EK. What is that one? That's
Yeah, the EEG.
EEG.
I actually thought they were going to as well, but
they didn't do that for anyone at this
Yeah.
one. No.
Yeah, oh, maybe it is because I know they change it up, whatever study they're working on, because sometimes they'll be working on looking at, could be like microbiomes, look at the effects of microbiomes. Next one will be, what is the effect of that? Because I know I heard another study, I just saw a testimonial on his YouTube page where they're going to be actually doing cancer, specific cancer.
This year, 2022, cancer.
This is what they want to focus on. Last year, they focused on, you know, how meditation affected COVID and some really interesting results with that. But they said those are just small fish in the pond. They want to go after the big fish, which is cancer, to see, you know, people have these spontaneous remissions after, you know, doing this work, and they want to understand why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he probably goes, yeah, I know why. We know what's going on, but we have to make sure that the rest of the public understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And okay, so day one, you're cutting in there. So day two, what happens on day two?
Well, you get right into it. So, you know, you arrive in the ballroom, which they call the monastery, because it's like, the meditations are to kind of find the divine in yourself. So that's why they call it the monastery. So you arrive at the monastery and with 1,400 other people. That's how many people were at this event. So, and you get right into meditations. And
now sometimes you were sitting, and then other times they were actually laying on the floor as well.
And often a combination. You'd be sitting up for part of it, and then you'd lie on the floor. So you're kind of like sausages with other people, which in a way was good because I did feel the energy from other people. And I think that really helped to accelerate the effects for me. And
yeah, I hear a lot of times it's almost like a 60-40. 60% of the audience is return people from previous events to go back into work on other stuff, but also to be helped with the energy of the room. And then 40% are all new people that haven't experienced the workshop. Now, I've heard this. I don't know if it's true or not, but
I mean, I'm sure every conference is different, but this time it was 70% new people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I think because of COVID, you know, there were a lot of people that said, I've done this before. I don't want to travel right now. And you got to understand too, with me having all these lung issues, to travel to this conference in Florida was a risk. But again, it was, you know, weighing the risk versus the reward.
I mean, like literally you had nothing to lose.
Right.
Like what, you're going to catch COVID? Like, sure.
But with all the lung issues I have, I was fearful that COVID might be pretty dire for me.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, but obviously you knew something else. Like obviously your spirit was going, yeah.
I knew that it was going to be worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So day one, day two, what happens in day three? So obviously there's progression. It has to be a progression of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, what each day was a different way of approaching a meditation, because so it really got, just each day was a different one. And we also had walking meditations that started at 6 a.m. that we'd go out onto the beach and we'd, download these meditations ahead of time, put our earphones on. And so it was dark when we got out there. And by the time the meditation was done, the sun had come up. And, so the idea is that you can, bring this meditative state into a walking state. So that you can try to, hit these brain waves or the brain heart coherence, not just while you're lying down, but you want to be able to do it when you're sitting, and sometimes even when you're standing and walking around and going about your day. So there was, outdoor walking meditations as well. And then one morning, I think it was the Thursday, we started our meditations at 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. and everyone showed up, and the idea being that melatonin is highest in your brain at 4 a.m. So starting the meditation there might trigger people to kind of reach that brain heart coherence that they're trying to achieve. And what I also want to explain, which you wouldn't have seen, and I saw these on testimonials, but so there was no ramp up. It was just every day was a different way to try to get you there. And what I mean by trying to get you there is if you kind of can, you're trying to get these brainwaves, theta brainwaves happening in your brain for long periods of time. But also what you're trying to do is you're trying to unleash this energy from your first chakra, your first energy center, as they like to call it. And when it does that, when you finally let that happen or allow that to happen, you go into a seizure. It looks like a seizure.
Okay.
And so it was interesting. And so, some people are saying, I can't quite, it hasn't happened. You kind of want it to happen, but you're afraid of it happening at the same time because, you'd go out into the walking meditations on the beach and people would just fall to the ground and go into a seizure. So it looks a little crazy and it looks a little scary, but it doesn't feel scary. But it's so, that's what you're trying to get to have happen.
All right, let's talk about that heart-brain coherence, because I know that's a lot of what he talks about. I think he talks about coherence in general. So if we could just talk about a little bit about that, if you whoever wants to kind of talk about coherence in general, but heart and brain coherence, because I think that's a lot of the precipice of a lot of his work. So
yeah.
Okay, well, all right.
Okay. I can say
No, it's okay. I don't mind. I'm studying it right now, so I kind of really should speak up.
I felt like I was dominating the conversation so far. So
yeah, you got to share,
Okay.
So
Well,
Dawn, let's talk about heart and brain coherence.
all right. First, I'd actually probably start with HRV, like heart rate variability.
All right.
And what that is, because it kind of leads into coherence. But heart rate variability is, a lot of times people think that your heart rate should be nice and stable, consistent, like a metronome. But when we look at the heart rate from between beat to beat, there should actually be a difference between one to the other. So one might be 0.1 seconds, the next one might be 0.3 seconds. And that's called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is a really good indication of someone's health status.
Okay.
Their biological age, that type of thing. And when you want to increase your heart rate variability, you want to strengthen it, coherence, heart coherence and brain coherence have been proven to be probably the best way to do that. Okay, so heart coherence is when you elevate your emotion to the higher vibrating emotions like joy, love, gratitude. And when you compare your breathing rate with it, and when that happens, you go into heart coherence, and your autonomic nervous system, so the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight and flight, and the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, they actually go in sync. So they go complete perfect balance. And that's technically what heart coherence is.
Okay.
All right, which is different than meditation, because when you think about meditation or relaxation, we're actually going more into the parasympathetic. We're going more into the slower heart rate, and it's not balanced. So that's a big difference between, you might feel like you're relaxed, but when you're doing heart rate or heart coherence training, you're actually bringing your nervous system, the ANS, to a complete synced and rhythmic way.
And the meditations, I wouldn't necessarily call them meditations, like they are intense.
I heard that.
At some points, like, it's like,
It's really intense.
it's really loud, really kind of gets you, it's to get your energy moving out of that first center. And then there's times in the meditation where, you are brought down into that kind of relaxation kind of mode, and then you're brought back up again. And I mean, it's it's kind of crazy, actually. I would love for you to listen to one of them sometime.
Well, have you heard his meditations on, like, how when he starts to speak funny too about space?
Oh my God, listen. There are times where I've cursed that man's, name a few times. It's like, would you just, at the space between the space, and then the space beyond the space, and then relax back into the space, and you're not like the space. If he says space one more time, I would reach through my iPhone and just like grab this guy by the neck. It just drives me nuts. But then after a while, this is what I first was doing. Now it's just like, God, it's like, and then I've had a friend give me another meditation, one of his, where it's, one is I have the blessing of the energy center. So I have that one. But I know he's got several variations of that. So I got the first one. And then the other one was, oh Lord, what was it called? Taking the mind out of the body, I think it was called, or something like that. Where it's like you're squeezing the muscles, like contracting everything up. Yes. And you're bringing all that contraction. Yeah. And it's just like, man, that's intense. And I've been using that one a lot. So I varies between the blessing of the energy centers and then working with that particular one. Those are my kind of two go-to ones. But I can only imagine, like, after like even a couple hours, you'd be like going, oh God, this guy just shut up. Like, he must be like, there must be people in the audience going, God, is this ending? Like, can we all have lunch?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you get into it properly, there's your nobody, nowhere, no time, no space. So, I mean, it does go really, I was like, how am I going to get through, when I realized it's not 4 hours of meditation, it's 6 hours, minimum. But man, it goes quick.
Now, is this like 6 straight hours, or is it like 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, 6 hours straight. I mean, I'd have to go for a pee break, like, for literally, So, okay. So we touched on a little bit of the coherence, stuff like that. So if you had to think about, what is the foundation of his work? What makes it so impactful? Is it just the meditation? What is he trying to do with the meditation? Because that's what his thing is meditation.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's 3 different things. And I didn't really realize this until I went to the week-long event. One is you're trying to sustain theta brainwaves.
Okay.
And the theta brainwaves, for people that don't know, is that brainwave that you hit just before you fall asleep. So it's a very healing brainwave, but you're only in it twice a day, with just when you wake up in the morning and just when you fall asleep at night. And you're in it for such a short time, but it's a very healing, brainwave. So it's kind of sustaining yourself in a theta brainwave state. So that's one thing. The other thing is releasing the energy from your first center. And gosh, I didn't know there was so much energy stored there. Anyway.
No, hey, listen, just go for it.
I'm going to tell you exactly what happened to me next. Right. But so there's the sustaining the theta brainwaves. There's the releasing that energy from the first energy center. Because what happens when you start shaking is all your cells start shaking. And disease cells have a very disorganized pattern. And the releasing this energy kind of gets those cells to reorganize themselves. their patterns become more organized. And so that's, if you're looking to heal a very serious disease, that's, you really want this kind of seizure. I don't know any other way to say it.
Seizure is a good way of explaining it.
But you want that to happen. And then the other thing is you're also working with the quantum field. So he's teaching you how to reach into the quantum field, and feel what you want to have happen and use your heart to bring that back to you. So you're almost, creating your destiny or your future.
Okay. So one of the questions, being a typical guy, if you can't feel, so how does he work around that? Because I'm sure there's like guys in the audience, but also women too, as well, that just can't feel. They can't feel that sort of thing. And I know that's been a struggle for that. I know myself, he talks about feel the feeling.
Yeah.
I've never
visualize, feel it. So what you want to create is so for myself, when I tried to, I'm going to tell you how I got there initially on that.
Please do. Yeah, please.
Okay. Because, I'm an animal communicator. So he was saying, you want that elevated emotion, you want to feel it. So what I would visualize, and again, you don't want to use visualize, you want to feel it. But to get there, I visualized, a dog just licking my face, and, the just that, that unconditional love that you get from a dog. And, so whatever it takes for you to feel that intense emotion, that's what you got to do.
Okay.
So the first day, I'll tell you this, the first day in the meditation, so I was, trying to feel this elevated emotion by, having a dog lick my face and whatever. And then I kind of went into this, this really deep knowing that my childhood dog and my cat that just passed away 6 months ago came and joined me. Now, I'm an animal communicator, so I feel their energy all the time.
Of course.
They were physically, I'm lying on the ground, I could physically feel them against my leg, like physically. And so I didn't want the meditation to end, because I knew as soon as I opened my eyes that they'd be gone, because it felt like they were actually there, not just their energy, but their physical selves. And so I asked them, well, why are you here? And they said, we're here to protect you, and we're not going to let anything happen to you, Mommy.
Wow.
And I started crying, and Dawn and I laugh about this because neither of us can cry, even if we, wanted to. For some reason, we just can't, right?
Yeah, it's a letdown every time. It's like, here it comes, and then nothing.
I'm the complete opposite, man. I'll go into like a bawling state. Like, once I learned to start feeling like, emotions. Oh yeah, I'm a crier. I'll freely admit that.
But that's good.
That's good. You get to release.
And I realized it's a release. So I started crying, but not just crying, like sobbing, and I could not stop. And I'm like, this is not normal for me. And now I know it's an energy release. So that was my first kind of result of a Dr. Joe meditation.
Yeah. From what I understand, basically for a lot of people, are thinking about this, it's what they were, I guess what a lot of people who are spiritual yoga people was like the Kundalini movement, the energy, the life force that's stored in the first center. And the idea is to move it up the energy centers. Now he doesn't call it chakras. He's so not into chakras. Like chakras, like he always says, there's a connotation.
He calls chakras the C word.
I don't know why he refers to them as
no, because it's science. It's not identifying with any culture, any religion. He wants it all to be scientific. So
and I think that's why it really can help people, because once you put those connotations on it, and because like I'm a guy, and I have to say this is a guy's point of view, because sometimes guys go, if it's a little woo woo, I ain't touching it, like ooh, chakras. But if they can get their head around energy centers because, oh, biology, anatomy, energy centers. Oh, it makes sense. But a lot of people are just like that too as well. So that scientific approach to it really helps eliminate those people who are, kind of shy off the, the woo woo, even though I love the woo woo. But it really does that. I know that's what he always talks about. It's like, I've seen those videos where he says, no, we're going to call them energy centers. This is what it is. And it's just moving that energy up. And it is surprising how much stuck energy. I know myself because I've been working on that one meditation, how much still stuck energy is still in my body. And it's always my lower centers. Like my upper centers are all peaking and going crazy, but it's just the lowers and the upper centers are not connecting. It's all stuck, but all the energy is open here, but it just doesn't want to get up. But I've had times where I've did the funky chicken, where I've had that release. Now, for people, again, it's almost like you're having an orgasm.
Yeah.
It's like for a guy having a full body orgasm, it feels so good. Now, the idea is that you want to take that energy and move it, like he always talks about, move it up to the heart. And once it hits that heart, it goes up to the upper centers. That's where it really wants. I mean, sure, it feels great down below, but that's not where it wants to be. Like, sure, it feels great, but the idea is that you want to move that energy up into the upper centers where it can actually, I think he calls it entrainment or coherence with all the energy centers. Is that what that's the kind of the purpose?
Yeah. Because one kind of affects the other, or like the metronome all syncing together at the same time.
So entrainment is like, you could set off a ton of different metronomes and eventually they will all sync up. And when you're doing that type of meditation, it's your heart rate variability, your blood pressure rate, and your breath rate. When they all sync, that's entrainment. That's when they have all gotten.
Is there a particular day that actually happens? Like, I know for some groups, they're pretty easy and it's like day 2, everybody's in entrainment and they're going crazy. Everything's just firing off. Everybody's popping. Everybody's having these things happen. Or did it take a little bit longer for your group to kind of get?
Well, it was a lot of 70% beginners. So it did take, a little bit longer. I mean, I was in a particularly
expressive
volatile group on the next day. And I think that
let's define that. Let's just, because it's.
So the next day I sat beside, because, you just grab a seat, and I sat beside this group of 6 women that came there together, mostly from Florida. Just before it started, just got talking, and the person beside me said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm an animal communicator." So of course she told all her friends, and they're all excited because they're animal lovers. And so they kind of adopted me and would save me a seat every time. But every meditation, so the woman beside me, she said she had been to 5 conferences and never had that energy release.
Wow.
This is her 5th one. And then we're in the meditation. This is the 2nd day of meditation. And she starts, the seizure. And I could feel the energy kind of wafting over from her towards me. And I went into, it wasn't a seizure. Mine was really cool. It was almost like a wave going through my body, where my knees would lift up and then down, and then my hips would lift up and down, and then my chest would lift up and down. And that wave continued through my body for like an hour.
Wow. Now I saw a video, I don't know, it was on Instagram, that you were doing these contortions.
That was day 3.
That was day 3. Okay. Cause that's what now I just want to make sure that everybody understands. Like, they're just describing, it's not a seizure. It's not a seizure. Okay. So I want to make sure that everybody understands it, but it looks like she's having a seizure. But I just saw you're all contorted and you're like kind of doing this weird stuff, and you're smiling, and you had this glow of joy, and it's like, yeah, I can't move and everything's going weird.
Well, the cool thing was so this was happening. So I expected it would be the same, but the next day I started, because I had a car accident in the summer. So I had a lot of upper back pain. And all of a sudden in the meditation, instead of this wave going through my body, I just started getting a shoulder come up like that. And then it would release and drop down in the next one. And then it was just like these crazy body movements that was kind of stretching out all these really painful muscles in my back. But when the meditation finished, I couldn't stop it. But it was all like upper body. Like it was almost like my internal body's intelligence knew that I needed to stretch all these things out. And I mean, I wish I could do it now because it felt exhausting, but it felt so good at the same time, right? You know, to stretch all these things out. So it wouldn't stop. So I'm like, oh, I got to get back to the room for Dawn to see this, right? And I'm trying to walk back and I'm like falling over, right? But other people were having that happen too. Like we had these buffet lunches and stuff.
Nothing looked weird there.
Yeah, so people would, use the tongs, grab some salad, and then they kind of, and salad would be flying all over, So, I mean, anyway, so I get back to the room. I said, Dawn, you got to see this, right? And
first thing I do is grab the camera.
Yeah. He said, are you okay? And then grab the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked like she was in like a Michael Jackson Thriller video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get it to stop. So we went for dinner and I was still twitching and flopping and all through dinner. And Dawn said, it looks like you have Tourette's. And I said, I feel like I have Tourette's.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
You know? Now, Dawn, did you have an experience like that? How was your experience? Were you just kind of watching her going, all right?
You know what? The event sold out so quickly that I wasn't able to actually get a ticket. But I'm in school and Dr. Joe is one of my professors. So I thought this was a really great opportunity to go and see his work live. So
so you didn't actually attend the event.
I
witnessed it.
But you witnessed it.
And it.
Oh, you maybe a little snuck it. Okay, well, that's okay.
Just one day, but also kind of, there was outdoor.
Luckily, he had speakers for the outside because you could get up and go to the washroom. You could get up and leave. You were free to do what you want. So I maybe sat outside and listened.
But you did ask if you could.
I did email them and and I even went up to the people there and I was like, can I buy a ticket? Is there anyone who didn't show up? But
so anyway,
but it's it's so incredible. Like I hear those testimonials, I see the work that happens with that, and it never ceases to amaze me. Now, how many miracles did you guys witness yourself?
Oh my gosh. So the other thing that they would do early in the week, they would bring up people that wanted to tell their healing stories that had it happen prior to the conference. And then as the week went on, they brought up people that had these amazing spontaneous healings during the conference and told their story. Like, this one woman who had compartmental pain syndrome in her feet, so she couldn't walk. And, a good day for her before the conference was just if she could have a shower and brush her teeth. That was a good day if she could accomplish those things.
Wow.
And, and she came up saying that, came up to the front to talk about it. And she said every day, it was interesting because it was her doctors that couldn't help her and suggested she go see Dr. Joe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Dr. Joe was going, I want to meet these doctors, Anyway, and so she said every day she would go back to her room disappointed because nothing was happening. And then finally out on the beach one day, her feet, like she went out with crutches because on the sand. And all of a sudden she realized her feet were itchy. And then it clicked that if her feet were itchy, they weren't in pain. And then her dream was to just run. So and luckily there was a ton of Dr. Joe staff out there to help people if they fell down and started twitching, right?
Yeah.
But they actually caught it on film of her just like throwing down her crutches and like running.
Wow.
And, and then she says, I've lived with this so many years and it's gone. She said, felt this huge like bolt of energy go up her back in the middle of the meditation, and then noticed her feet itchy. And then she said, I'm leaving my crutches and my wheelchair here. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
Life-changing.
Yeah. So, and there was one woman who now, and I should mention to the, because not everyone can go to one of these events. You don't have to go to events. One woman came up and told her story. Because of COVID, she couldn't go to an event, but she wanted to. So she healed prior to the event just by doing the meditations. And she had had eczema from head to toe since she was 3 months old. And so bad that it looked like the worst acne. They showed pictures of her, and she wouldn't even go out in public. She was so horrified. And the other side effect of whatever condition she had was that she couldn't sleep. She never slept. She would go into a trance kind of at night, but she would never really sleep.
Wow.
And so it took several months of doing these meditations, but all of a sudden one night she slept, and then the next night she slept, and 2 weeks later, all her eczema went away. So, and she was, to the point you can imagine, never having slept. She was almost suicidal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like these are people are experiencing like crazy life altering, events and healings and that sort of thing. And that was really empowering. And, to hear that. And they brought one guy up who, because they teach you, once you learn how to heal yourself and get this energy moving, how you can send it out using your hands to help heal someone else. So you can sign up for, these coherence healings on the website. And, so thousands of people around the world will like kind of, send this energy out to you. And this one guy, and it really hit home for me because he was diagnosed with stage 1 kidney cancer, had his kidney removed. The doctors told him he was fine, didn't need chemo or whatever. 6 months later, it was through his whole body, including his bones. And so he signed up for coherence healings because, again, with COVID, there was no events that he could go to. And within 3 months, his cancer was gone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The power of the infinite possibilities, right?
Yes.
That's right.
And that's, I think, something that we all need to realize, that we are so much more powerful than we know. We can, and it's not other people that are healing you. Ultimately, it's you kind of, releasing that energy to heal yourself. And we have so much potential to heal ourselves. And really, Dr. Joe calls his whole kind of concept and website unlimited. That's the term that he used. And I think we need to realize how we are all so unlimited. There's nothing that we can't do. It's just trying to understand how to get there.
Yeah, it's so profound, and it just never ceases to amaze me. I love his work. So if I had to ask, would you recommend if people to come down and maybe do one of his events? Now, even if they don't have the financial ability to do it, do you think it's probably a good idea to maybe pick up one of his books and start doing his CDs?
Oh yeah. And I think, the other thing that was really powerful for me, even before I went to the event, is on his website. There's a section of stories of transformation, and you just hear people tell their stories, and wow, it's incredible. Like people that are on their deathbed in the ICU, and their friend just, gets permission for them to bring, their phone and their earphones and start playing Dr. Joe meditations, and how they, come out of these, near-death situations.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you don't have to go to an event to have, this work for you.
Yeah. So the next big question, how are you feeling since you're back?
Yeah. I feel, okay, so, everyone's asking me that, everyone that knows kind of my story, and I feel like my pain in my back, and it's hard to know, is my back pain, from this car accident that I had, or is it from the lung issues? And I actually think it's a combination. My pain is reduced 80%. So it's not
80%.
gone, it's not gone 100%. The other thing that happened before, that I felt before, I was coughing a lot just from the lung nodules, and so I wasn't coughing a lot, but I had this chronic cough, and my oncologist told me that would eventually happen, and that has seemed to go away. So
Go away. Wow. Now,
yeah.
obviously, you're still doing the meditations, right?
Oh yeah, every day.
Every day. It's
Every day. It's like, you got to think of it like, this is healing my body. So it's like medicine that's healing your body. Why wouldn't you take it every day?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. That makes so much more sense. My favorite people. We're almost out of time.
Unbelievable.
boy.
It goes by way too fast.
Yeah, I eventually would like to get into the longer format. I mean, actually, right now, this is probably be the longest podcast so far. We're over an hour right now. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much there. We could talk for hours. I mean, I love both of you, and I think you guys are, amazing women, and I love your spirit. I love the information you put out there, but you're like my sisters. I could just talk to you for hours. Like you're like my soul sisters, and I just talk for hours about this amazing stuff. Okay. Superpowers, spiritual superpowers. Where can we find you?
You can find us on YouTube.
All right.
Spiritual Superpowers. And we do have a website, spiritualsuperpowers.ca. And
Facebook.
we're on Facebook and Instagram as well with the same name.
All right. So do you guys want to plug yourselves, your own work?
Caron.
Yeah, of course. So, I'm an animal communicator, and which means I communicate psychically with live animals, and I also communicate with animals in spirit. And I am fully committed to using what I've learned from Dr. Joe. They talk about healing other people, but I actually want to use it to heal animals.
I think that's a great way.
I mean, it's something that I don't think has really crossed their minds, but why not?
You know what? It makes total sense. And the great thing is there's no ego or brain kind of going, yeah, is this thing going to work? Is this like the animals they're just energetic sponges anyway. So they'll just soak it right up. So yeah. And Dawn, if somebody wants your services, where can they find you?
I'm actually doing my PhD full time right now. So I'm not actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not actually working. So I've got nothing.
She's a full-time student.
I'm a full-time student.
Okay. All right. So now that I know, okay. So they can still watch the videos and still connect with you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Dawn's on hiatus until she gets her PhD. But Caron, if you want somebody to help you with your animals, comes highly recommended. But also I believe that she'll be healing animals next because she's so supercharged and supernatural now. And I just really want to thank you ladies for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today and talk to my audience. And I'm so happy for both of you. I know I could just see by your energy, Caron. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's just, that smile says it all. That smile says it all.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I'm healed. So I just need the scan on March 31st to prove it.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a follow-up interview real quick and just do that. Now this particular podcast, it is pre-recorded. So hopefully by then we'll have all the information there too as well. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yes. When you invited us, we are always happy to have a conversation with you.
Well, I thank you guys so much. So that being said, just going to close off the podcast here. So this has been the Metaphysical Mentor podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.